All right, welcome to this explainer. So, if you're a junior developer just stepping into the wild, fast-paced world of cloud infrastructure, you've probably hit a wall with modern software deployment. I mean, you can write the code just fine, right? But getting it built, tested, and actually deployed efficiently, wow, that is a whole different beast entirely. So today, we're taking on the core challenge of modern deployment. We're going to master Jenkins and Kubernetes to build incredibly scalable CI/CD pipelines.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Why on earth should you pay for CI/CD servers when you aren't even building anything? Seriously, in a traditional setup, you've got these static virtual machines just sitting around, twiddling their thumbs waiting for a build job. They're chewing up CPU, memory, and most importantly, your cloud budget 24/7, even when they're completely idle. It's a massive administrative headache, and honestly, just a complete waste of resources.
And that brings us to our totally elegant solution: ephemeral pods. Basically, think of these as temporary, isolated Kubernetes environments. They spin up to do one very specific task, and then poof, they vanish the exact second they're done. It's kind of like, well, imagine the Jenkins controller is a project manager, and these ephemeral pods are gig workers. The manager doesn't keep them on a full-time payroll doing nothing, right? Instead, they're hired exactly when a job starts, they do the heavy lifting, and then they're immediately let go. This saves you an absolute ton of infrastructure costs.
So, here's the roadmap for our apprentice journey today. We're going to tackle the CI/CD scaling problem, look at controllers and ephemeral agents, and then dive into the Kubernetes infrastructure setup. After that, we'll hit pod templates and JNLP, level up with multi-container builds, and finally wrap the whole shebang up with persistent volumes and secrets. Don't sweat it, we're going to build this step by step.
Okay, moving on to Section 1, the CI/CD scaling problem. Because, before we build anything, we need to prove exactly why we have to adopt this cloud-native scaling methodology. Now, what's really interesting about the data on this slide, from a recent JEDA research study on cloud-native DevOps, is how Kubernetes dynamically handles scaling. Just look at it. As the workload ramps up from 100 to 2,000 requests, Kubernetes automatically provisions more active pods. It scales right up from 2 to 8. This elasticity means you maintain highly performant response times even under really heavy load. If you tried this with static VMs, your pipeline would literally just choke. Ephemeral pods make absolutely sure you always have the exact compute power you need right when you need it.
All right, Section 2, controllers and ephemeral agents. Let's unpack the core relationship between the Jenkins server and the Kubernetes cluster. This workflow perfectly illustrates the magic of our gig worker setup. So whenever a developer pushes code, Jenkins detects the change. But, and here's the kicker, the Jenkins controller doesn't actually build the code itself. Instead, the Jenkins Kubernetes plugin makes an API call to spin up a brand new Kubernetes agent pod. The controller is basically just orchestrating the pipeline. It delegates all the heavy lifting, the compiling and testing, to these ephemeral agent pods. And once that container image is finally built, the pod just terminates.
Time to roll up our sleeves. Section 3, Kubernetes infrastructure setup. Let's transition to the actual practical implementation of our infrastructure.
Setting this up really boils down to 3 fundamental steps. First up, we create an isolated environment by making a Kubernetes namespace. Let's just call it DevOps tools. Step 2 is absolutely critical for security. We set up a Jenkins admin service account using role-based access control, or RBAC. Listen, you never want Jenkins having the keys to your entire cluster. RBAC ensures this specific service account only has permission to manage pods strictly within that DevOps tools namespace. Finally, step 3, we link this service account by configuring the Jenkins Kubernetes plugin right on our controller. Now, depending on your specific architecture, your Jenkins controller might live in one of 2 places. If it's an internal controller, meaning it resides inside the same Kubernetes cluster, communication is totally seamless via internal DNS. But if you have an external controller, living completely outside the cluster on a standalone VM, you've got to explicitly provide the Kubernetes API endpoint URL and a secret token from your service account just to allow secure communication.
Moving right along to Section 4, pod templates and JNLP. So how exactly do these agent pods know what to build, and how do they report back to the manager?
The crucial point here is understanding JNLP, the Java Network Launch Protocol. When the Kubernetes plugin spins up an agent pod, it injects environment variables that contain the Jenkins server details. The pod then uses those exact variables to reach out and talk back to Jenkins using JNLP.
It basically bridges the communication gap, allowing our gig worker agent to receive its specific tasks and stream those build logs directly back to the manager controller.
Actually, scratch that. We missed a step. How does the pod know which tools it needs? Well, that's where pod templates come in. See, if you don't define one, Jenkins just defaults to a standard image from Docker Hub, which is fine for basic communication, but it completely lacks your specific tools. And let's be real, nobody wants to try building a Go app in a basic Java container. By defining a pod template in your Jenkins file, you guarantee your dynamic build environment has the exact container images and labels your code actually requires.
Section 5, Multi-Container Builds and Kaneko. This is where we level up and look at handling some complex, real-world build requirements.
And this brilliantly illustrates the true power of Kubernetes-based agents, multi-container pod templates. Imagine you've got a single pipeline that compiles a Java application and then runs some Python testing scripts. Instead of building one giant, bloated custom image with every single tool installed, you define just one pod containing multiple lightweight containers. One for Java, one for Python. Jenkins then executes these diverse tasks sequentially, hopping seamlessly between the specialized containers in one single pipeline. It's a real game changer.
Now, you might be wondering, if we're running inside a container, how do we actually build new container images securely? Because Kubernetes actually removed Docker runtimes, so doing the old Docker and Docker thing is no longer the standard. Enter Kaneko. Kaneko is this modern, super secure solution for building container images right inside your Kubernetes cluster. It doesn't require a Docker daemon to run at all, which makes your CI/CD pipeline so much more secure and compliant.
Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 6, Persistent Volumes and Secrets. These are my absolute favorite pro tips for optimizing speed and security in a production environment.
Okay, so here's a critical question. We love that these agent pods are ephemeral and disappear after a build to save us money, right? But if they're destroyed, what happens to all those downloaded build dependencies? Well, that is the main drawback of these gig workers. They have total amnesia. They forget absolutely everything when they're dismissed. If you're building a massive app, downloading gigabytes of dependencies from scratch on every single build is going to slow your pipeline down to an absolute crawl.
So to cure this amnesia, we use persistent volume claims, or PVCs. A PVC essentially lets you attach a shared, persistent storage drive right to your ephemeral pods. So the very first time a build runs, it downloads all those heavy dependencies and saves them to the PVC cache. On the next build, the new pod just attaches to that exact same volume and uses the cached files. It's such a simple step, but it significantly speeds up those frequent CI jobs.
And what about security? In a real-world enterprise setup, you definitely aren't pulling your build images from public hubs. You're using secure, private company repositories. To manage this safely, you use image pull secrets in your pod definition. This references a Kubernetes secret that holds your registry credentials, safely authenticating your agent pods so they can fetch custom images without exposing any sensitive passwords. You can even lock down the Jenkins Kubernetes integration even further using network policies, strictly restricting exactly what traffic is allowed in and out of the Jenkins namespace.
Let's move to our conclusion and see how this all builds together. As DevOps expert Bibin Wilson points out, scaling your Jenkins agents on Kubernetes helps you avoid the administrative overhead associated with static build VMs. And honestly, that is the overarching benefit of this entire cloud-native approach. You aren't managing servers anymore. You aren't paying for idle time. You are dynamically requesting exactly what you need, executing it securely, and then scaling right back down to zero.
So now that you possess the blueprint for infinitely scalable infrastructure, what are you going to build first? The tools are literally right here, ready for you to automate your own workflows. If you found this explainer helpful in your journey as a developer, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you clear, structured, deep dives into cloud technology. Keep learning, keep building, and I will see you in the next explainer.